Hello, FewCandy here, and welcome back to Solitude. And last time out we put in these huge rice fields up the hill. I just really wish the decals would load in properly and not look quite so glitchy and funny with the graphics. But close up, I think they gave the effect of exactly what I wanted. Marvellous network assets there. So yeah, I really enjoyed that build actually. Something very, very different indeed. But for today, we're going to be going back to some more regular style builds, and we've got huge residential demand. So first up, I'm actually going to do something a little different and jump straight into a time lapse where we are going to build out a small residential district right next to our shopping mall area, filling out that gap there, which will hopefully give us a little bit less residential demand so we can do some more interesting builds in the future. So yeah, with this, I'd have finally gone onto the workshop and downloaded a plain suburban street without the road markings on it. So using that within this suburb here, because I want it to kind of feel a little bit more upmarket than the likes of Bradley Stantonville with the mud roads and the slightly more damaged roads, and certainly the favela area as well, which I've not forgotten we will give it a name to, along with our mall area as well. So yeah, I really like the plain streets. They feel a little bit less kind of overdone than having all the road markings on them. But yeah, with this community, the land here is very, very slopey indeed. So a big focus of mine was to get lots of layers within this little suburb here. And I want the road to kind of mirror around the edge of the highway as well. So it's quite close to the highway, because I want the highway to feel like, obviously you come in at the edge of the map and it's very, very rural, lots of mountains and forests, and you can just about see the ocean over the trees in some places. And then as you come through the tunnel and round into this side next to the rice fields, it slowly starts to get more and more built up, because this highway will eventually go on into the downtown. So yeah, that's why I want to build up fairly close to it. A little bit of a tree barrier, but I want it to be obvious that there are developments and housing right there. So I did start by plopping in actually the key services for this area. So I wanted to make sure we were covered by police, medical, fire, education as well, so an elementary school. I'm not putting in another high school just yet. Like I mentioned actually in an earlier episode, I don't want to be educating all of our citizens, and yes, we can use policies on certain districts obviously to control that, but by not having in enough school places for everyone, that will obviously also control that as well. Because I've got an awful lot of generic industry in the city so far more than we do have offices or any of the need for well-educated and highly educated citizens. So that's kind of my rationale for that. But the housing around this area, we actually mainly used vanilla assets for this, with a little bit of the mid-century modern housing in here too, but quite mixed. Generally larger properties, but some smaller ones in there as well. And not going for the kind of development vibe that we did right next to Serenity Town Centre, where all the houses essentially look the same or are made of the same type of brick and mortar, as it were. But really, really mixed bag here. So people kind of moved in and bought plots of land and that sort of thing. So with that, I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of the time lapse, and then we'll be back to talk about the main build for today's episode. So yes, we have a residential neighbourhood in terms of detailing, there's not really too much. The main focus was getting the houses in with nice lots of greenery in between them. I do really like how these little custom parks have turned out in the middle here. So this park is one I've made, which is available on the workshop and in the asset list. And this one is a UK Adventure Playground asset, which is very plain. It's just the climbing frame by itself. But when we do a little bit of brush tool, because the 1x1 ruined as well, doesn't actually sit in a perfect square. So it's really nice for kind of getting this sort of blended, dirty floor texture to it when we put it in. But yeah, using that to create little paths around it I think has worked really, really nicely. And then obviously with our little cluster bushes in too. The same goes here as well for this little path out the back here. But I think these work really nicely as a kind of community centre point right in the middle of the suburb here. And of course we've got a couple of walking paths going through to the main road. This one, then they can cross the road and go into the shopping centre there if they want to. Got another one over here as well. Then we come on to the cemetery, and I really like the little gates on this actually. I'm quite enjoying those. Then the school is the same detailing as we've done elsewhere. Again, I've brought in another one of these adventure playground assets. I'm absolutely loving those. A little bit of sheltered learning out the back there. Nice big car park here, and then of course we've got police, medical and fire all in a little row over this side, and little just tiny bits of detailing really in here just to finish off that area and make it feel like it's got purpose. But yeah, one thing I do really like about this neighbourhood is it's actually pretty tiered. It's almost sitting in a bit of a bowl, like it kind of goes up on the landscape that side and also goes up this side. So right in the middle it's sort of on a bowl, and yeah, from the top. Hello. Let's get rid of these trees, shall we? I'll need to go round and do a tree check, that's for sure. But yeah, from these houses at the top here, they're going to get quite a nice view because the downtown skyline is going to sit, I think, right about there, just peeking out behind this mountainside. Yeah, they're going to get quite a nice view, I think. And you can also just about see across to the rooftops in Serenity there too. So yeah, really, really liking this little neighbourhood. Just nice and plain and simple. So coming on to the main build for today, we're going to focus on something in this area, pulling out the end of this pedestrian path that we left after doing it in our big shopping mall area. And I was thinking to myself, like, what would be appropriate to put next to a kind of out of town shopping centre? I don't want more town centre. We could extend suburb around it. But I really wanted something quite special here. And actually what I've landed upon is a stadium. So that's what we're going to be putting in today. And the one that I am going to use is from Bad Peanuts Sports Venues Content Creator Pack. If you haven't got this, please do go and check out my instant gaming link in the description below. It is one of the best content creator packs there is, and I'm not just saying that. It's really, really good. And Instant Gaming has got lots of discounts on hundreds of games, and it does also help support the channel. So what I've chosen is I'm actually going to go for the Copper Bowl for a soccer stadium. Being British feels right to me. And we're going to put this in here, and I want this like nicely lined up, sort of the middle of it, at the end of this pedestrian path here. Because what we're going to do, you can see here the zoned area of it is a nice hexagon shape. We're actually going to bring pedestrian paths round in a hexagon shape here. Now, the terrain, as you can see, is really bumpy here. So we're going to ignore this because we're going to work around it. So this build is definitely going to be another grower, shall we say. You'll need to wait a little bit until it looks right. But it will in the end. So we're going to ignore the terrain for the moment, and we will fix that later on. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and draw in this hexagon. So what I do actually want for this is I really want to get this completely parallel to the side of the stadium here. Now if we go into snap to angle, let's just see what length that was. So that was 9 units. We'll come in and do another 9 unit one here. Do 13 on this side. And then we'll just keep this pattern going around the stadium here, being really careful that we're staying as parallel as we can to it. Okay, so I don't think that looks too bad. Obviously, the terrain needs an awful lot of fixing here. So let's go ahead and grab our nodes firstly. Let's just highlight all of these. And we're going to make sure that they are completely level to the same ground level as the stadium here. So everything's nice and flat going around this. You can see the pathway's already connected in at the back there. I think it's just about looking okay. Okay, and then at this end, I would like to have a pedestrian road kind of leading up to it. I'm thinking, kind of annoying we get the scratch in the big one, but I think the big one should really go here. But we're going to have to move this node over so it's right in the centre of the stadium, otherwise that's just going to bother me too much. So yeah, we'll go like that. And then I think with this road, let's go to Bob and let's change those trees. And I think we'll carry on the common bars we have around the other pedestrian walkways there. Just like that. Provides a nice bit of shade walking up to the stadium there. Now this is saying it's not connected at the moment, so it might be we have to just move all of these roads slightly closer. I'm just going to have a play with that. Okay, so yeah, there we go. We have got that now connected. I've just moved them in a tiny, tiny bit. So we've still got the nice hexagon shape. It's kind of alright. Not perfect, but it gives me the effect I was looking for. Right, so the next thing I want to do is bring in a train station into here, because we obviously, with the stadium, need really good, fast transport connections for it. So we have got the main train station in Serenity out here. We've also got a local line that runs out this way, and the grander plan is this will ultimately curve around this island and go into a main transport hub in the downtown here. And then the rail will continue on round this part of the coast out to the airport. But we could also loop this up and up around the station and have another rail line which kind of winds round the outside of the downtown and comes in from the other side, potentially even tunnels under to go to any towns, future towns, shall we say, the other side of the mountains there. Now in terms of train stations to use, I think I'm actually going to go ahead and use one of the Railroads of Japan stations for this. And I think we'll use the elevated large station, so we get 2 platforms. And this actually, I don't know if that's luck or chance, but actually sinks really nicely into the middle of our pedestrian path there. So we can have the station sitting at this side of the stadium. Now I do feel like that's quite close to the pedestrian path, so we're actually just going to pull it back just a tiny bit. It will still remain connected, which then just gives us a little bit more of a forecourt to play with out the front there. But what you will see is obviously the terrain is screwing up here. We'll address that. Let's clear out these trees. And here for the moment, because we do now need to connect up the train lines. So yeah, there we go. We've actually got the station and we've already got people flooding in as well. I'm assuming there's going to be a match on soon. That's quite exciting. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of people, yes, coming down from the shopping plaza here. Yeah, there is quite a few of them. That's really great to see. Absolutely love that. Yeah, but now they've got better transport options, and I have extended the train line down here, so they'll be coming in via there. Now, obviously, we need to sort out the other side of this. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll just actually extend out our main arterial road here, just a little bit further like that. And then what I'd like to do is actually bring up a collector through here. Possibly one of these ones with wide sidewalks might be quite nice. So let's snap to road guidelines, because what I do want to do is make sure actually it's pretty level and parallel to the station itself and to the road there, so that doesn't look too bad for me. And obviously, you can see we've got an issue with the terrain, so let's make sure that this is the same height as these nodes the other side. We can of course just slope these couple of nodes here, make sure that's nice and smooth. But now we come in, again you can see we're digging into the terrain, but we are going to sort that out. Yeah, so we come in and we've got the station right there. Now, obviously, having parking would be a very good thing here too, but I'm also just thinking to connect up the pedestrians between one road to the other. Let's also just draw in a pedestrian path under there, just to make sure that they can definitely walk underneath that. We'll actually do the same thing this side too. And then we also do want to bring in parking as well. It being a massive stadium, we've obviously got lots of parking around the shopping mall and there's a ton of spaces available. So yeah, there's not really any issue in it, but I think it'd be nice to bring in a little bit up here. So we're going to go back and use our new undecorated plain suburban street roads for this. I'm just going to bring out a road straight across like this for now. And then we're going to follow this up. So it's kind of like, yeah, being separated from this main road. And I do want this to be terrain height, actually. So let's adjust that. And we want this one to be the same height as this one. So yeah, we're going to get some little slope ups here, which is fine. And we can increase the height of this one here too. Then similarly, I'm actually going to make sure that these are level with this one. We can slope out this bank as well to make it a nice smooth bank from the main arterial up towards this parking area. Not a load of trees. Get the brush right. Yeah, we can smooth that out like that. So that's nice. Just a nice, really gentle slope actually up towards that. Then I would like to use a mixture of parking lot roads and the big multi-storey car park that we got from the update. So let's bring in this at the front here, because I think that'll be quite a nice little feature there. So we'll level that off to the height of this node. And then from here, we're going to bring out some parking lot roads. Same as we always do, we're going to use the poorly maintained ones, because I think they have the right vibe for Solitude, the vibe that we really want here. We're going to leave a little gap in between them, like this. And then we're actually going to connect them up with a bit of parking at the end here. That looks like all kinds of wonky. So let's grab all of our nodes within that. Oh, there are ones in the middle as well. To level off the height of them so that they're all nice and flat. And do you know what? I'm actually just going to remove these. We don't need the nodes in the middle there. Then we're going to use a bit of node controller and we're going to change these to bends and then completely remove the offset on both of these corners here. And that just gives us a nice like tidy square corner to each of them and a nice big flat car park up there as well. Now, we obviously want Sims to be able to get down to the bottom level as well, so I'm going to bring in some more keys, which I absolutely love, and this one with the stairs in it in particular. Of course, absolute favourite of mine. So we do need to check the height of this. We want to make sure that these are level, but I also do want to make sure that the key is the appropriate height to get people to walk down to the ground. So like that is actually pretty perfect. And that's how we'd like it outside of the station there. Let's grab a little bit more key and we'll bring it down to the end this side. And we'll also continue it on there too. This can start to go up a little bit there. I'm not too worried with that. Okay, so now let's go back to our old car parking lot nodes and make sure they are the same height as the key. So that's nice and flat across the top now. And then we can just bring in some connections to allow people to walk between the road here and down onto the quay. So I think I'll do a few, because obviously it's going down to a stadium. So I think it'll be relatively busy. I think 3 like that, just connecting that to the quay. And then of course from the quay they can then get down onto the main road here. But just to make sure that that is the case, I'm actually going to draw in a tiny bit of pavement path here. Though the annoying thing is the the lights are sticking through. So let's actually upgrade this to gravel. And then we won't have those little street lights on it. And actually that kind of looks quite cute, actually. Don't mind that. But this looks a bit wonky here. So let's make sure that this is level off. I think that would be a bit more appropriate there. Now, of course, they can't cross the road here at the moment either. So what I think would be good for this is to introduce a crossing. Let's go to node controller for that, and we're just going to change this to a crossing there, which is right outside the front of the station. I think just one actually will be fine there. We don't need to overdo it. Oh, hello. I think that is an intercity train, isn't it? Yeah, do you know what? We're actually going to not allow that here. I think we're just going to force them to stop at Serenity. I don't really want the intercity passengers all gathering here. So I have to get the train from Serenity out here. Oh goodness, look at the crowds here now. It's a busy one. Right, now in terms of this road as well, we can now start to really think about this one. And what it's going to do is it's going to come up underneath this rail up to terrain height. So I'm going to click home for this. And initially, obviously, it's going to look very strange here. Let's draw it out a little bit further. But then if we go back to network multitool, the slope function, we'll go from here to, I think we'll go to there. And we're just going to slope that out and see if we can get underneath this railway. And it looks like we're going to have to drop this quite a bit more. Yeah, there we go. We've managed to get that sloped in and up to meet the terrain height up this end. Yeah, we're having fun with the terrain here. Now I have just curved off the end of the key here so we can do some different kind of bank detailing up there when we come to build this area up. But for now, I think that's quite nice actually. Yeah, quite enjoying the aesthetic of the quay and the people floating down from the station. Marvellous. At least they'll float down either side, I suppose, now. So yeah, quite a lot of detailing to put around the car park. We're going to come up to build around this, so it's going to look pretty plain by the end of the episode, but we'll obviously fill in the car parking spaces and a nice bit of detail around the big open car park there. Maybe a little something on this bank as well. But coming back to the stadium, we are going to do a very similar thing around the back here with the quays, because I think that would be appropriate for this. I would just like to actually bring in one other form of public transit as well. So we do have buses stopping over here, so they could just walk through the shopping centre and out to here from the buses. We've got trains here. But there is one public transport as well that we haven't really utilised, which is the metro. So we have a metro station in the centre of Serenity, and we haven't really used it yet. So what I'm thinking is there's probably going to be a metro stop here. When we come on to build out this area, you'll understand why. And I'm thinking we can loop it out to the stadium from there. So it's just kind of an alternative option to the train, because obviously giving them multiple transit options is going to mean less cars on the road and ultimately better traffic in the long run. So I'm actually thinking of going back to the Railroads of Japan assets. I was thinking this small metro terminal might be quite nice here if we sit it actually in this side of the stadium. So what I'm thinking is we'll put it in the middle of this gap here, like that. And it's just like sort of acts as a nice additional building, I feel like. So we should hopefully get people transferring from the metro onto the train here as well and become a little bit of a transport hub. Lots of activity walking backwards and forwards. So let's actually go ahead and get our first metro into Solitude and we'll connect up these lines. Okay, so that's all connected up, so we will see how that goes and we'll take a little look before the end of the episode. But yeah, coming back onto this side and what we're going to put here, we are going to put in some more keys around this because I feel like it's a nice vibe. As any of you who've watched Oridan will know, yeah, I'm quite obsessed with decorating with keys. And I think it works like an absolute charm. So I think at the back here we will put in some stairs. I kind of only want one in the middle though, so this might be a little bit of a pain, honestly, to do. We're going to put in a tiny bit of key here. One unit of stairs. We try and line it up as much as we can to the middle there. Just noticing as well, this little middle node. Let's definitely get that lined up nicely to the back of the stadium there. And then if we just adjust this over a little bit, can we get that in the middle? Don't worry about the height of the keys just yet. And then I'm going to bring this off out straight like that. Okay, so we need to adjust this back a little bit. I think we can get the stairs to work. This is going to mean a little bit of move it, or quite a lot of move it in fact, to get this in. Now we obviously need to drop these down a little bit from the terrain height here so that we can make sure that we've got that path on the floor from the bottom of that walkable quay. And let's of course make sure that they are all the same height like this. And we'll just drop that down a tiny bit further. We'll put a little bit of surface paint under that and we can do a bit of terrain wrangling. We're making the quay go right up to the end of the railway station like that, which I think would be really quite nice. And then we just get terrain tools. We can start to push the terrain back a little bit under these quays, which will just give us a nicer ground texture there. And then over this side, what I would like to do is actually, let's grab our pedestrian road again. I'd like to bring a walkway up the slope so people aren't relying on the stairs there. They can walk up a slope here to get up to our neighbourhood, which will be up here. So Just going to bring that in like that for the moment. Let's actually just adjust this node over so that it meets that road nicely there. And we can actually level off these heights. Yeah, that's not looking too bad at all, actually. Okay, so let's grab Surface Painter. And we'll just fill in this gap here. Just to make sure that's all nice and consistent. And then that also kind of widens the pedestrian path as well as we do that. Oh, we've just had a match and it's just finished and kicked out. But I was thinking alongside this as well, please do let me know your name suggestions for our team here. Because we can name the stadium. So yeah, let me know your name suggestions for that. And I'd like to do something nice and Solitude-like. And look, actually, this is really quite interesting. Everyone is pouring out. There's not too many people coming down to the main road here, and some are actually walking up this way, so I'm assuming they're going to the car park there. I'm not 100% sure. Quite a few are walking this way towards the shopping centre, but most people are actually going into the train station. I don't think many... Oh, we have got a few walking underground to the metro as well. Are they actually going in here? Yes, we've got people coming out. Yes, we've got people using the train station and the metro station, so that is that's exactly what we wanted. So we know that those routes are actually viable and ones that Sims would actually take. Okay, so let's briefly talk about what we're going to do up here. Now, I'm not going to fill out the entirety of this neighbourhood. We are going to come back to that another time. But I do just want to put in a couple of houses so we can get this sort of full effect of what we really want here. So I am actually going to use, I think I'm going to use a road with a median for this. We're going to bring it out pretty parallel to this quay. So everything looks horrendous on this terrain until we actually sort it out. But we get there in the end. And that's the most important thing. So yeah, so what we want to do is make sure that this road is right up against this quay as close as we can get it. So those pavement kind of textures almost merge in together. That's really what we want to be seeing here. We'll perhaps do something a little bit different on this corner and we'll just bring it out like that. And then I think I will actually, yeah, on this corner, we'll change it back to our plain suburban streets. We've got a little bit of car parking in here. We can bring this up alongside the rail for now. And then let's also go ahead and connect this into this main road here. Now I did just move this slightly further away because I forgot it is pushing up the terrain this other side of the quay and it just looked weird, honestly. So what we will do instead of that is fill this in actually with just a very small little pedestrian pathway, which will just complete that gap nicely and doesn't interfere with the terrain down this side. I think we do just want that in the other way around. Oops. Let's put that in that way and then we get the lights kind of nicely up next to the quay there. Yeah, I quite like that. Okay, so the houses that we're going to put in here, we're actually going to do a little bit of Brooklyns and Queens, which is the first time I've used it, so super excited for this. But yeah, some of these I think have got quite nice kind of like faces to it, and I think it would be an appropriate thing to have some of these styles of flats overlooking the stadium area. So what we want to do is get, yeah, some nice rows of them in. But I do kind of want to vary up the height because they're very, very, very samey in the height. Like all of them are literally the same height. And I kind of want the white-faced fronted ones really for this. So just to vary it up a little bit, we're going to add in a couple of taller buildings, I think, here and there. So like it, for instance, here, I think this will be a good opportunity to add in one single taller building. I think I'm just going to go for the square. I think the round maybe looks a little bit jarring next to all this squareness, so I think we're going to go for this big square tower block here, and we'll just slightly shift it back a little bit to give it a little bit more breathing room, and I'm actually just going to reset that till we get the nice, slightly lighter version. Feel like looks a little bit better. This is going to be kind of, yeah, a heavily bricked area, shall we say. Quite different to the rest of Solitude's vibe, but it's very much like a case of they've got the stadium in here and they're using the real estate around it to build an awful lot of homes and really develop out the area. That's what I'm kind of thinking with this. And I think again what we will do here is add in a couple of towers as well. Maybe two of these. I don't like the colours, so we'll ignore that just for the moment. If we can kind of add these in a little bit like this. I think again that would be a nice little pop in height just on the corner there. When we're looking at the stadium from these roads, it sort of feels quite nice and filled out. And then from these houses, we'll do a little bit more of behind that when we come to do this area. And we're going to start migrating this out into more dirt roads as we go up towards the hill here. So this is going to be one kind of very small pocket of built up area, again, which the council, I'm assuming, decided to build in. Because we've got the shopping centre here and the stadium, it was a highly demanded real estate area. So they thought they'd develop some more houses here. That's what I'm thinking anyway. So what I will do now is just kind of round off this area with a little bit of detailing. So we're going to do some nice path patterns, some area of shade and some food trucks, and a little bit of commercial, very small kind of commercial stands almost around the stadium area, just to fill that out, but really mainly focusing on some nice open path patterns. I really want this to feel quite open here. I mean, they've got a ton of shopping and bars and things like that over this side. And then we'll obviously finish off the car parks as well, and then we'll come back to this area as mentioned at a later date. I think we have shaped out this area quite nicely, and yeah, we've got a ton of people flooding in off the train. I'm assuming there's going to be a game soon again. But yeah, I absolutely love these little plastic chair assets. They're actually like parks, so citizens, you'll see, like come up and actually sit down and use the table, which is the most exciting thing ever. So it actually really looks like our food truck area here is actually busy. Like there are Sims moving around, sitting down, sitting at all the tables. We don't have to go through and place in sit and sim props. So yeah, super good. Although this guy appears to be floating in midair. So maybe some little tweaks needed for that, but they're working really well. Really like those a lot. I really like how the shelters have turned out with all of the flowers underneath and the little bench patterns. Yeah, liking that. And then as we come on over here, we've got a little area with a bit of tourism, cafes, bars, restaurants, a little bit of Green Cities cafe action going on there too. Again, just to give people places on where they go after matches or before matches. Actually use one of the hotels and retreats DLC parks over here, although I've just noticed that. Let's just fix that quickly, shall we? So all we need to do for that is a tiny bit of concrete surface brush underneath it. There we go. And the grass sprites are no more. And I did just put in a little rock up here next to the pedestrian path going up the hill this side. So yeah, kind of like how this all flows. No one seems to be using the stairs though. I think I didn't do it low enough, and honestly to get this all down now on level again would be a little bit of a pain. So I might have a go at fixing it off camera. But yeah, I feel like this is looking quite nice up here now, and some of these apartment blocks, they're going to get freaking awesome views over the whole city. Like they can see across to Serenity from here up to the Ziggurat, or Altitude should I say. And yeah, same goes for these ones over here. And so we just finished it off with a few little car parks. Really liking this overgrowth banked kind of look, just a mixture of the vanilla undergrowth mixed in with a couple of cluster bushes. I think it feels quite nice. And then of course we fenced off the rail there for security purposes, and again like how the bushes stick through it, feels a bit more natural there. But yeah, I think it's come together pretty nicely. I haven't really done too much with the car parks. I'm kind of thinking leaving it open would be quite nice here. Not 100% sure what the development's going to be around it, so we'll come back to that, and getting this road over the rail as well is going to be a nice little challenge there. But for now, it's all working really nicely indeed. So for today, that is going to be it. But if you have enjoyed the episode, likes, comments and shares are really greatly appreciated. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for hitting that 20,000 subscriber milestone. Oh my goodness. That was quite an emotional moment for me and something I never thought would happen. So thank you all so much for your support. And don't forget to drop your name suggestions for the stadium into the comments below. But that's all from me for now. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you again next time. Bye bye.